Ah, hello, traveler. Please come in out of the storm. Welcome to my inn. What's that you say? You come in search of the mystical tomes of OZ and the Freak podcast?
Ah,
I'll have you know that many adventurers have made their way upon my inn in search of that prize. I've heard tales of some survivors, very few, mind you, that would turn your hair white in fear. Still want to make the journey? Well, there's a shop across the way. I'd recommend stopping in there before you continue. Oh, they have a great many items in there, potions, supplies. Let them know you stayed here and give them my name. You should get quite the discount. What's that? Oh, my name. Did I not introduce myself? Well, I'm OZ, and he's the freak. And it's our podcast you're looking for. Now, roll for initiative.
oh, I got a 4.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is, wherever you are, and thank you for joining the premier geek podcast, OZ and the Freak Talk Geek. I'm OZ.
And I'm the freak. And welcome to the ABCs of NPCs.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was a catchy pun for today's title. What do you think?
I like it.
Yeah?
I like it. I
All
like
right.
it.
If you can't tell from the title, today we're talking about TTRPGs. What does TTRPG stand for?
It stands for Dungeons and Dragons.
Fuck me. Redo, retake.
What?
Tabletop role play game.
You mean there's more than just Dungeons and Dragons?
Oh gods, yes. I mean, just right off the bat here, we've got airship campaigns, which is really cool. It's a source book that uses 5e licensing, and it's basically a lot of space stuff. I mean, not space, but like you have different airship campaigns. Really cool stuff from Arcane Minis. Let's see here. You got Pathfinder, which is
Oh.
basically like 3.5e extended for D&D. You've got Morkborg, which is Swedish death metal bands made their own RPG game. It's everything you would think it is.
I think that is the most D&D thing I've ever heard of.
Like let me see if I can find some of the art here.
Oh, I'm sorry. The most TTRPG thing I've ever heard of.
I mean, it's just straight up anything you would see like from death metal stuff from Swedish bands. If you like D&D, but you're not a fan of classic D&D, and you're into morbid humor, we've got Rick and Morty D&D.
Oh,
yeah, they have a little starter set.
Fun. I was wondering if you actually have that.
We have Hyperborea, the Conan-esque fantasy. It's weird. It's weird to go into Hyperborea, but it's
okay.
A different thing.
There's a whole lot of titles that you're throwing at us. We have
Iron Kingdoms.
And I think if you downloaded a Geek podcast, you'll at least have some familiarity with tabletop role-playing games.
Mothership, which is a space game. We're not going to go into all the books I don't have with me here. We're going to go into a lot of these, honestly.
Are we?
Oh, gosh, yes, dude. We can't just talk tabletop games and just talk D&D. I mean, we've got Mutants of Masterminds, g.u.r.p.s, Starfinder, Vampire the Masquerade. We have so much in the world of tabletop gaming.
Okay, well then I guess since we're just starting off, let's just start off on how we just started off. What was your earliest memories of tabletop role playing?
My earliest memories were of ADD. And
Second,
I'm not talking about the mental disorder, which I also have, ADHD actually. ADD was the second edition of Dungeons and Dragons, Advanced Dungeons and Dragons.
right.
And for anybody that's probably over 30 or 40 years old, I'm going to say something right now that might bring up pre D&D history and pre D&D gaming PTSD. Roll for Thaco.
We pronounced it Thaco, but yeah.
To hit armor class 0. We we always called it Thaco, but thank goodness third edition got rid of Thaco. I couldn't keep up with Thaco. In fact, I was one of the nerds that had the chart. In fact, I still have a print off somewhere here. I just don't know where it's at.
I honestly had that had escaped my mind. Like I had pushed it back in the resource, like deep in the recesses in the farthest dungeon of my mind. Thaco.
There he is.
Um, nice little beholder.
Yeah, Xanathar.
Wow. Okay, so
Yeah.
so who got you into it?
Um, I can't even remember who got me into it. I was at a comic shop one day, and some guys that I was with, they were playing it. And this was as far back as A-Leaf, when before I ever even moved to Katy. When I moved to Katy, a lot of my friends and some of my friends in high school and some of my friends that met me after work and whatnot, we would meet at a place called All the Fun Stuff. You remember All the Fun Stuff?
I
Eeks.
remember all the fun stuff. And now we're
Yeah.
talking like 98, 99?
I got into it around, I would say 97, 98. And then I got into third edition later on around early 2000s.
Right. I
I'm
want to say
assuming.
third edition came out sometime around 99,
Yeah,
2000.
that sounds about right, because it was midway through high school when I got into third edition. And when I get into third edition is when I really got into playing. And the first edition, I mean, second edition, there was so much going on, so much math, so much rules, so much shit I had never heard of in my life. And I was kind of playing a pre-made character, and I had no idea what the hell was going on. I mean, my first session was roll, just roll. I'll tell you what to add. Roll. Okay. I rolled 3. Is that good? Is that good? No, that's not good. No,
Rolling a 3
no.
is never good unless it's a four-sided die. Like, but okay, so you were just with
What
some
about you?
friends and they were already
Yeah,
playing.
yeah, pretty
Okay.
much. I jumped into a pre-session. Well, what about you? What's your earliest introduction into tabletop RPG?
Freshman year of high school, 96. So I came into a group of friends and when I got up to high school immediately in the band geeks. So
Okay.
it was your prototypical band nerds that played D&D on the weekends. They invited me over to play,
Uh-huh.
and it was my first time ever. Yeah, first time ever really going to somebody else's house to begin with.
Hmm. Yeah.
Like that like didn't live down the street. This was like a drive to get to their house, and it was all my high school friends that I had the entire time I was in high school. They invited me,
Hmm.
and we were playing AD&D,
Hmm.
and they had me roll up my first character that night. And I was like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna do something metal. Like I'm gonna be a wizard. Yeah, I'm gonna be an evil wizard. And
I wanted to be a wizard. I think they rolled me like an acrobat or something like that, I think.
well, they were just like, and they didn't have a wizard, so I was like,
Hmm.
well, I'll be your wizard. And I kind of and they showed me how to play the game, and we just got into it. And the
Nice.
only reason why I remember when third edition came out was third edition came out while we were still playing,
Hmm.
and we were like, oh no, a whole new set of rules. Like, and like me, I was just like, I just like barely figured this out. Like now I'm gonna have to do everything all over again and do this again. I don't want to do like. Can we just keep using the old rules? And yeah, and so we played pretty consistently throughout high school, maybe like once a month.
Hmm.
Um, and we had a pretty good long game almost the entire time. We
Yeah.
jumped between two DMs and carried over our story, carried over our characters. Um, I believe my character sheets still exist.
Oh
They're
yeah.
in Mississippi, yeah. Which I don't have it. I left it with the game. I left it with the game master. I was just like, you hang on to this. I don't want to lose it. I don't
All
want to
right.
be responsible for it.
Real quick to interrupt.
No.
For those that are listening who are interested in TTRPGs or role play games like this, DM and GM basically same thing. DM stands for Dungeon Master, which is also the game master, which would be the person usually hiding behind a board like this or a game screen that's running the session and running the game. He has the board set up like this so you can't see what he's got going on behind the scenes. He might have to make you roll some dice, he might just start pulling out figurines. You never know what's going on behind the DM screen.
He's the keeper of the story and the keeper of the secrets. He's technically God of your story.
In essence, yeah. Do you remember one of your first characters?
I do.
What was
I
his
do. I
name?
like. I'll tell you how original I've been for 24 years.
Let me see. Let me hold on. Let me guess. Oz.
Yep.
Oh gosh.
I guess what my second character's name was.
Oz.
Zoe.
Oh, I was gonna say that or Fire Chief Bob or something like that. I don't know.
No. Zoe.
Didn't you have a character, Fire Chief? It
When
was
I
it
was
Fire
backyard
Chief Bill?
wrestling.
Fire Chief Bill or Fire Chief Bob? What was his name?
Bob. Bill
Okay,
was the Jim Carrey character.
Jim character. Yeah. Okay, so I knew you had a Fire Chief character.
Yeah, when I was backyard wrestling, that was my
Yeah.
masked wrestler, so I could wrestle 2 matches a night.
So I had two characters. One was Freak, and the other was Oddball. Oddball was actually way more crazier and weirder than Freak was. So
Oh yeah,
Oddball was like my mankind character.
that's exactly what Fire Chief Bob was for me.
Nice.
Yeah, he was my hardcore guy. But I mean, so okay, so we were band geeks, we were nerds, but we were also drama geeks too. So any,
What did you play in band?
I
Weren't
was
you drummer?
I was percussion.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
I like
so
to
I was
beat
drummer.
on shit.
Yeah, of course, dude, metal. But so we all had this group was like a perfect like gumbo of creative types
Mm-hmm.
that wanted to explore their imagination, wanted to do fun storytelling, and like really just wanted to hang out and be with one another and brother on. So I was very fortunate to get into this group, not only in high school but also because of what really forged me into being a letter carrying geek. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
something I'm really proud of. So that, and if I wouldn't, I don't know where I would be if they didn't invite me to that D&D game. So
Yeah.
yeah,
That's awesome. So I'm just now putting this together. IRL, you're a bard.
technically,
Uh,
uh,
uh, you're a
uh,
bard, bro.
I am a musician.
You're
I
pretty
guess.
charismatic. You're
I,
pretty you have a high charisma.
thank you,
Yeah. I
but
mean,
I don't know, dude. I've always saw myself as like a barbarian, more, but never played one.
yeah, but you've got your nature and demeanor, and I'm talking IRL here. Deep down, like you wish you were a barbarian, but bruh, you're a bard.
I am quite a bit of a performer. I mean,
And
the
I'm a
monologue.
very and I'm a very fat rogue. I'm a fat rogue. I'm sneaky as hell. Like you can ask my wife. I sneak around this house and I scare the shit out of her all the time. It's amazing. I love doing it. One of my favorite things is I would literally sneak up the loud ass stairs and wait for her at the top of the stairs, and I'll be crouched down on top of the stairs. And as soon as she opens the door, I like grab her foot or something.
Oh my god.
My
I
wife
can't
will be in the
stand
kitchen
being scared
cooking,
like that, dude.
but my wife will be in the kitchen cooking, and I will come all the way from upstairs, all the way downstairs, go all the way into the kitchen, right, and be standing right behind her, and she'll never even notice. I could stand there for a few minutes sometimes. I'm very sneaky for a fat guy.
I'm kind of the same way myself too. I would tell people I'm the fattest ninja you ever met.
Oh yeah, dude, we could just disappear like a fart in the wind.
Hmm.
So
Surprisingly enough, I never played a rogue.
I have played a lot of rogues. I really do like rogues, especially in like Pathfinder games.
Mm,
There's so much more you can do with rogues and just have different attacks um like stack off of each other. Um the synergy, thank you. That's the word I was looking for. So many synergized attacks, using each one to like do a whole bunch of more damage and everything. Like by themselves, rogues can really be one of the heaviest hitters of the group.
nice.
But my first character I ever played
Hmm.
that I okay, not the first character I ever played. The one of the first characters that I still remember, and I have his character sheet. I just don't know where it's at. To this day, the earliest character I can remember was a dwarf warrior, dwarf fighter named Tick Doth.
Nice.
His first name was Tick, his last name was Doth, so he was ticked off.
I love it.
And I remember he had a real big helmet with a giant like spike, almost like one of the old German spike helmets. Just a single spike coming out, and he didn't use it for attacking or anything. He either used it, he would whenever we would camp, he would take the helmet off and just smash it into the ground, with the spike in the ground, and he would either sit in it or he would use it as a pot to make food.
Hey, there you go.
It was awesome, dude. I love that character, and that was a character that I made over at All the Fun Stuff in Katy back when it was still around. I miss that place.
Yeah, a lot of overpriced good memories.
Yeah.
Yeah. My first character was a wizard. He was evil. I was trying to do anything I can to just fucking burn shit. I had this obsession with fireballs and magic missiles. One of the first things I killed though was I killed a kobold, and I don't know how to describe kobolds, but like tiny dragons.
Mm-hmm.
And
Well, not really tiny dragons. They're a tiny dragon-like race. They don't really.
right,
Most of them don't really have wings or whatever, and they're really really small.
right. Well, I took the skull of the first one I ever killed,
Mm-hmm.
and I shoved it on my quarterstaff, and somehow or another, I don't know if it was because I was crazy or because it was actually happening, but the skull name was Scully, and he would talk to me. So I don't know if like my conversations were actually real between me and the
Yeah.
skull or not, but that's how I was playing him.
One of my favorite phrases from Wizards is there's only one there's no eyes in team, but there's 6 eyes, and I don't give a crap how big the room is. I cast fireball.
I've never seen that movie.
Is that from a movie?
Wait, didn't you say it was from Wizards?
No, no, I'm just talking
Oh,
about
Wizards
wizards
in
in
general.
general. Yeah, the wizard
I was
class.
thinking of the Ralph Bakshi movie.
Oh no, no, gosh, that one came out fuck forever ago, dude. And that's one of the cool things about like TTRPGs, man. There's board games that have derived from this stuff. There's card games. There's TV shows, cartoons, movies that have derived from this genre.
Right.
There, in fact, there's even a book series. Like there's a book category called Lit RPG, which is literature RPG, which is it's a book, but it's almost as if you were the main character was a main character in a board game or video game where they can like read their stats, they level up, they're aware that their person just leveled up. It's a really cool niche genre that my friend introduced me into.
I think
I
I had a
thought
coworker tell me about something
I
like
f- I
this.
thought it was dumb
Right.
until I actually started reading my first one. I'm reading a book by I don't know the person's name is called Shirtaloon. I know it's a weird name. And it's a book series called He Who Fights with Monsters. And I'm on book 5 of 10. So they're doing pretty good.
Damn.
Yeah.
I'm gonna write that down. He who fights with monsters.
Oh god, dude, it is so amazing. And I mean, like the guy levels up and in certain ways to where he would basically have the powers of a villain. And he
Mm-hmm.
kind of finds inner conflict with himself sometimes, how he can just annihilate people, but he's being the good guy, you know? And it's like kind of that inner struggle as he's developing his powers too. It's a real cool book. It's a real cool concept, and I thoroughly love it.
Nice, dude.
Like I said,
Nice.
I'm on book 5 of 10.
Now
So
I mean, I don't want to give the people the misconception that that role playing games, tabletop role playing games, started with
mhm.
Dungeons and Dragons.
As far as I know, that's where it started. I'm
Okay.
sure it probably isn't.
I kind of
Uh,
wish I was a little bit more educated on this, on where this all
yeah,
derived
I
from.
mean,
But
Gary
there
Gygax
was
was the inventor of D&D.
one of the
Um,
inventors of D&D.
one of the inventors of D&D. Yeah.
But what they played before and what they kind of adapted in trying to get D&D to eventually become and what became the uber popular tabletop role-playing games was they would play military campaigns using
hmm
little lead miniatures.
Yeah.
So there was a series of games where they would play with little army men on tabletop. Think Warhammer, but this
Okay.
is like Civil War or American Revolution
Yeah, and
type
those
of
games
war
are actually
gaming.
very popular and still around.
Right, exactly. But that's where D&D got its start, was from those kind of tabletop games.
hmm
And then they just wanted to add in the element of fantasy. Big fans of the Lord of the Rings books, which is evident if you look at any of the stuff for D&D,
hmm
and 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 that's where that blossomed out of. It came out of like Risk.
Yeah, and that was a good game too.
Never played it.
I well, okay, I take it back. Risk was okay. I liked Stratego.
Never played that
Str-
either. I didn't have the. I was like, I
It
ain't
was a
got the
good
fucking
game.
patience for this.
And we went from little miniature war figurines to fantasy figurines, you know?
Right.
And they get bigger. They get bigger. You can have like little ones or much bigger, nasty ones that if
And
somebody pulled this out, I would kind of probably shit myself if I had to fight this.
I never played. I never played a game where anybody used miniatures. The most we ever did was like on just paper and like showing where we were. We never had any visual components to our
So
games.
I love in-person games with visual components. Um,
Right.
I'm not pulling it out right now, but I do have one of the Chess X real big uh uh checkerboard maps that you can use the vis-a-vis markers and everything, and you can
Mm-hmm.
draw out maps. But I probably have, and I know my wife hates me for this, but I've probably got, I don't know, maybe 500 or so, maybe more models, miniatures
Well, I,
that that I've collected over the years.
right. And I
Uh,
remember. I remember
and
you
and and
painting
they
them.
and they really do range from 28 millimeter or 10 millimeters to I've got a couple of boats and ships that are like 3.5 foot long.
Mm-hmm.
I've got Tiamat that stands. Whew, Tiamat's probably about like this big, and I've got different versions of Tiamat.
And
I
that's to
love
scale with
miniatures.
the figures, right?
Mostly to scale. I mean, once you reach gargantuan and everything like that, it's just who's to say how big they really are.
Right. No, I hear you. I hear you.
But so one of the first games I played after D&D, nice, was actually GURPS.
Now, GURPS, I've heard about GURPS. I've
Uh-huh.
seen the books for sale everywhere. I've never
So
actually played it, never actually read it.
GURPS is from Steve Jackson Games. Did you Munchkin?
Oh, yeah, I love Munchkin.
Munchkin. He does the cards. Illuminati, New World Order. Um, he's he's got a lot of weird macabre and some. He's got some pretty eschew type style things.
He came up with zombie dice too, didn't he?
I think so, but I'm not positive. I don't know because I don't play that. Now GURPS came out in like 1985. Its first book was called Man to Man, which was just like a combat fighting book. GURPS was the second thing that they came out at 1986, which was the first edition. And GURPS stands for Generic Universal Role Play System.
So basically,
GURPS.
they took D&D out of, they took the fantasy out of Dungeons and Dragons.
They took, well, okay, so they took the fantasy setting outside but kept the rules. And what they did is they created a system, and it's mostly, I believe, D6 based. I don't know if I don't remember if it's D20, but I'm pretty sure it's all just D6 based.
By D6, you mean primarily they use the 6-sided dice.
Correct. Regular D6, six-sided dice. Roll your stats. You can roll what your character looks like, the male, female, size, everything. You can roll everything out as far as your character goes to completely create something original and random. Or you can just do whatever you want. But the GURPS system allowed you to create your own universe. And it gave you rules and guidelines of how to assign armor, how to do this and that. And with GURPS system, you can use GURPS and you can play a modern, real version of the world where I'm playing me, you're playing you, and we're battling it out in a zombie apocalypse. Or we can be some weird space rangers in a Firefly setting. It's a generic universal role play system that you can use that system to play whatever the hell your heart's desire. As you the DM, are the entire source of everything in the world, rather than following things that come in different books. You basically create everything yourself using the GURPS system.
I did not know
Which
that.
it's fun. It can take a lot more to create everything.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this came out in 86. Over the years, we have so many more books. They actually created different genres of world settings for GURPS to play in to make it a little bit easier for people.
Give you a
And
break.
it's still out and it's still around today.
Right.
Still publishing. And the first GURPS books that were out, you could pick up on and different racks and stands over at comic shops because it was pretty much free.
Nice.
It was a free printout that you could just pick up and play. That's how they wanted to get their name around. They just gave it away.
That's interesting. I never, like I said, never got into it. Never played that. And the only other game that I played, system I played was, other than Pathfinder, which is very close to Dungeons and Dragons, was Vampire the Masquerade.
That's what I was just about to get into. The first ever game that I actually ever played with you, before we ever even played D&D, was Vampire the Masquerade.
That's right. And that was a D20 system, right?
A D10.
D10.
That is a D10 system where every die you use in that game, they kept it real nice and simple. Every die in the game is a D10, which was super awesome.
Oh, it made it so much easier.
Yeah, like, you just
what
literally
dice do I use?
Yeah,
literally these dice.
Yeah, that's all it was, just straight up D10s. And I loved it. I had a beautiful set of like green marble looking with red inlay. And yeah, my first time ever playing Vampire the Masquerade was with you in the group. I believe it was okay. Oh gosh, I wonder if he has his old character sheet. Like, I'm kind of a hoarder when it comes to this stuff. Just so y'all know, I keep a whole bunch. I keep a binder here of old character sheets and everything.
That D&D, that vampire game, and playing with those guys, got me these, and I still have them. Luke gave these to me.
Oh man!
Whenever we started playing Vampire, and I didn't have any dice, he was like, "Hold on, dude, I got you."
Yeah.
I still have my original dice.
That's awesome. I
If for some reason dice have to be stored in a Crown Royal bag.
well, unless you finally decide to upgrade and get you an actual dice bag, I went with one that had the Pathfinder Goblin.
Or you can level up and get yourself a bag of holding.
Or you can question reality as to whether or not this dice bag is real or not.
Oh,
And since we're talking about dice real quick, you know, a lot of people say size matters, but I don't really know if it matters when it comes to dice. Because, for example, you can have dice
Oh, those are cute.
that are absolutely itty bitty. You can have regular dice. You could have metal dice.
I'm almost afraid I'm gonna fuck up something with metal dice.
Or you can just be an outrageous nerd and have giant dice. You hear that?
I do. That sounds awesome.
And the cool thing about these dice is my favorite monster, two of my favorite monsters. One is a mimic, hence the mimic bag. And my other favorite monster is, you know this one, right?
The gelatinous cube.
The gelatinous cube. And these dice are the size to scale. If you were to play with them and use these as the miniature, these are to scale for gelatinous cubes.
That's awesome.
2-inch by 2-inch. And they even have it to where when it gets destroyed, it can break apart into multiple other gelatinous cubes. And so they have smaller ones to where 4 of these actually equal the size of the big one.
That's awesome.
And they're actually dice too. You can see all the different skulls on them.
I do. Those are cool, dude.
Yeah, my gelatinous cube set, and they come in different colors. I love dice and clicky clackies. I swear I'm a goblin by nature.
You know, sometimes just math rocks are nice to have, nice to hold, nice to
Math rocks.
put your hands in, just feel them in your fingertips.
I think you're the only person I've ever heard say math rocks.
It's a thing. It's a thing.
And,
I really wish I came up with that. That's a thing.
And I will say this: me and a friend of mine. I shouldn't be saying this. Because somebody's going to take this idea and make a lot of money. But I shouldn't say this. But me and a friend of mine.
Then don't.
Well, okay. Well, I'm not going to say what we're going to do, but all I have to say is this: dice packs. When you buy a pack of dice,
right?
They call it a set,
right?
But they only give you one of each dice, one of each die,
right?
That's not enough.
No.
And that's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to say what we want to do, but one of each die is not enough. No.
I agree.
You have to buy a whole bunch of those sets to match if you want matching actual sets.
Oh, right. Because like my primary set is one of each.
Yeah.
But then I've had to eventually add on to my favorites.
Mm-hmm.
Just because you need these whenever you're playing. You need more.
Are your dice primarily like orange and gray color?
Yes.
Okay.
Because
it's
what I got.
Let me grab a
these
handful
were free.
Here. No, those
were
free. But the other ones you bought, like if I happen to open up a handful of dice, like I have all sorts of different colors.
Right.
But yours are primarily orange and gray. Yeah.
Yeah, because it looks like fire. Because it looks like fire.
And I will say, everybody that has a giant bag of dice, regardless of how many freaking dice you have, every time you go to play D&D, you're going to grab the same 4 or 5 dice or so until you start getting shit rolls, and you're going to put them in timeout and grab something else.
Oh, yeah.
But despite having all those dice, there's still a few dice that I pretty much primarily use.
Actually, a good friend of ours.
Also, props on the Crown Apple.
Oh, right.
Going away from the regular Crown Royal to the Crown Apple.
Well, green is my favorite color and favorite superhero.
Is
But
that the animated one?
what?
Is that the one that's green and animated?
So this bag of dice, a friend of ours, Andy, gave me.
Okay, I remember Andy.
Yeah, Andy gave me this bag of dice, and it was literally full of dice, like random dice. And I've made sets for my girls out of this. I've made sets for like people coming over and playing
Oh, let's
with
get rid of
me.
this now.
And he bought it on Amazon after taking an Ambien. So he's like, I don't need these. Take them.
Got to get rid of
Sure.
this DM screen here.
More clicky clacks for me. I'll take them.
Oh yeah, dude, cookie clacks are the best. Absolutely. So it's funny that you mentioned that you have a bag of holding
Mm-hmm.
because I have one too.
Oh yeah.
Do you remember? A long time ago, maybe not that long, but a while back, there used to be an online store that eventually had a actual store called ThinkGeek.
Oh yeah. I remember thinking they had some cool stuff.
ThinkGeek had the best shit ever.
They had some rad Funko Pops too.
They had everything there, man.
Mm-hmm.
And in one of the magazines, I ordered my bag of holding.
Nice, dude.
It is a giant bag, and it holds things. I mean, it's got a zipper here, inside compartment here. It's got a compartment here, compartment here, compartment here, and then two more compartments in the back.
Now, what is it about this property of tabletop role playing game that does know how to merchandise?
Oh, dude, they really do know how to merchandise.
Merchandising.
And it's not only that, but it's like certain iconic things. For example, the bag of holding.
Yeah.
That is an absolute iconic thing across D&D and most games. Because
Do you want to
you
explain what the bag of holding is?
Sure. It is a bag and it holds things.
What?
Oh, okay. You want me to go more in depth? Okay.
A little bit more.
So it is a magical bag, okay, in which it can store, depending on the size of the magic bag. There's actually different sizes of bags of holding, but each one is basically a portal. So when you put your hand into it and you look inside of it, like you look here, looks like there's absolutely nothing inside that bag. But when you reach into the bag, when you think of something, if you think of the thing inside that bag, it manifests into your hand and you pull it out.
Yeah. It's a
And the
nice little
bag
cheat for your
always looks
character.
empty because we always, especially when you get loot whores like me, who just has to keep everything. And I blame a lot of games like Skyrim and shit like that, Fallout and all those other games. I'm a hoarder. I have to, I need this.
Mm-hmm.
But it gives you a place to put it. Now, there actually is limits to bags of holding in which, as long as it's within standings and reasonable, most DMs won't be like, how much shit you got in there? How much cubic space is that?
How much does it weigh?
How much does it weigh? How much cubic space? Technically, there is a limit to a magic bag of holding,
Right.
but most DMs, within reason, will just say, "Yeah, it's in your bag of holding. Just whatever."
We just keep it fun.
Yeah,
And that's
now,
the thing. You can be a rules lawyer while you're playing this game, and some people like to play that way. Some people really like to want to follow the rules to a T. I've never met these people before.
not this guy.
But other people like to go a little loosey goosey. I mean, hell, you're playing a game, having fun.
Now, there are certain things that we will get rules lawyery in my games. It mostly has to do with action economy.
Mm-hmm.
I say action economy because, like, let's say most games you get like 2-3 actions,
Right.
right? But when you catch somebody trying to sneak in an extra action, that's when it's like, you can't do that, homie. You
Right.
can't really do that. Or when you catch like the DM slipping and he casts a spell that means that he can't do something else. I know he's not watching, but Alex, I'm sorry, bud. Sorry for busting your balls all those times. He's actually a badass DM.
Yeah.
And he has DM'd so many games for us. During COVID and after COVID, we played one game for probably about a year and a half, 2 years. We've been playing all the Pathfinder games he's DM'd for us. In fact, you were there for a couple of sessions that we actually played,
Mm-hmm.
and Alex was the DM as well. He's one of my favorite DMs. He's a pretty cool cat, and a lot of times we give him shit, and we could just hear the frustration. I say hear because nowadays, with people being older and schedules and work and life and COVID, we play on the computer.
Are you using D&D Beyond?
We've never used D&D Beyond. So for starters, we've been playing Pathfinder.
Okay.
We started with Fantasy Grounds.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, I mean, was it Fantasy Grounds? And then we moved on to something else, and I can't remember what the hell it was called. I can't remember the top of my head. But long story short, it's a platform that allows everybody to group up in one. It allows the DM to run the session online, where he has full control over everything. But it also allows them to import different books, and different games and different books based on what book you're playing or what game you're playing. And it's real cool. It's a real cool foundation, for you to use and play on.
No,
And the only
no,
person that has to pay for it is the DM. Everybody else can get it for free.
no kidding.
Yeah, so
Hmm.
another reason why it sucks to forever be a DM.
Right, the forever DMs. Well, you know what? I don't think we ever really explained what tabletop role playing games are. We've explained what we do in them. We've explained what our experiences with them. But tabletop role playing games, for the most part, are an opportunity to um, use your imagination and play a fantasy action game. And I say fantasy, not just in a fantasy setting of dragons and castles and wizards, but
Mm-hmm.
sci-fi or zombie apocalypse. Uh, a chance
There's
to
there's
interact with others
yeah.
and to do a cohesive story, and play a game. It's a game, and it's a game to play with others to mutually uh, create something, and it's
Mm-hmm.
the story of your game.
So and what you said at the very beginning of that is the absolute biggest and most important thing out of every tool, toy, accessory, or everything, book source. The most important thing when it comes to tabletop roleplay games is your imagination.
Right.
It literally, your imagination is the fundamental building blocks of all tabletop roleplay games. The reason that is because if you don't have miniatures or buildings or stuff like that, if you're starting out, you don't have all these things, and that's okay. You don't have to have miniatures. You don't have to have giant buildings. You don't have to have expensive clicky clackies or miniatures and models. Hell, we didn't start out with this shit. This is 20 something years in the process that's led to me having all this stuff,
Right.
but if you're starting fresh, your books and your imagination is the number one thing, because when you have a good DM, and even if he's not that great, be patient with him because he's learning. But
Right.
if a DM can actually set a setting and give you like descriptions like you did at the very beginning of this podcast, which was awesome
Thank you.
and ironic, because a lot of D&D games start off with you're all in a pub or you're in a tavern, and the tavern is the Rusty Nuts or you know Dragon Dick or the Whispering Pony or some weird shit. like, but they set a tone, they set a setting, and it's the descriptions that they use that allows you to use your imagination and put yourself in your character's shoes, where you're imagining your character is at a tavern. He just walked in. There's three dwarfs sitting at a bar, a mysterious figure with candlelight beaming off of his cloak sitting in the corner looking all mischievous. An orc bumps into you as you're on your way to the bar. These are things that they would give you and tell you, and you would use your
Right.
imagination to build all of this in your head, and then you would roll the dice to plan out what your character does.
And you roll the dice because that's giving you a random percentage of of
Failure to success.
failure to success. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So you if you roll high based on your dice, you succeed, or if you roll low, you won't succeed. And it just gives you that percentage. It takes it out of your hands and leaves it to chance. And then it's
Mhm.
up to you on how you move forward from there. That's what makes it a game. It becomes a game of chance.
Yeah, it's a game of chance, and at the same time, who knows? I was walking around my house, as I have done a million times before. I had my phone in my hand. Guess what? I accidentally bumped my hand into a book, and I dropped my phone.
Right.
I was walking, and I rolled a nat one and dropped my phone and almost broke it.
That's right.
So, like, when you might say to yourself in game, all I wanted to do is like this, and this should be the simplest and easiest thing to do. Sometimes some of the simplest and easiest things to do, we still fumble on.
Yeah, sometimes you can't, walk and chew bubble gum.
I'm getting that one. I'm working on it. So an easy deal here is you've got a D20. Okay. There's 20 sides to this dice. A 20 being the highest value possible, being a nat 20 is the best thing you can roll in this game. The worst thing you can roll is a 1. And a 1 means you fail no matter what. Okay. So now let's say I'm doing a podcast. Let's see how I do. I have a
Ooh.
+5 modifier here.
Yeah.
Well, I rolled a 2.
Hey, with your +5, that's 7.
Yeah, I rolled a 7. Who knows what the difficulty is? I don't know because I'm not the DM here.
Who is the DM?
I don't know. Spaghetti Monster in the Sky?
Maybe.
Yeah, well, I'll leave it up to Spaghetti Monster.
Anyway,
Yeah.
so all right. So I've played Vampire. I've played Pathfinder.
Mhm.
I've played Dungeons and Dragons,
What's
even third
Vampire?
edition. Vampire the Masquerade.
What is it? What's it about?
Oh, let me tell you about Vampire the Masquerade.
Well, thank you for enlightening me.
All right. So it's like D&D, but with vampires.
Oh, okay. And this takes place in medieval settings and times?
It could.
But does it?
No.
No.
All right, look. All right, so it's a modern setting role-playing game, and it's predominantly Vampire the Masquerade is made by White Wolf,
Mhm.
and they also do a werewolf type of game too, where you play as werewolves. So,
Love.
which I've never played, interested in, but never played. But Vampire the Masquerade, it deals with modern day setting, with modern day vampires, and modern day situations with vampires. So not only do you have vampires, but you also have like guns. You got to worry about guns. You have to worry about feeding and other stuff and going on all of these adventures. And the vampires are like at war with themselves and at war with werewolves, and that's where there's like the main story of this setting is concerned. Um, and that was the first foray that I had outside of Dungeons and Dragons. So that one was really Luke made me do weird stuff and bad rolls.
Uh, hey, at least your character didn't grow a red rocket for going on a blood frenzy.
My character molested my hero.
Okay. All right. Well,
I don't want to
still
use
not
the
a red
hard
rocket. That one's permanent.
bro. So look, rolls can be bad, and depending on your DM and how sick they are.
Yep.
Could determine, how bad and what happens with your character. So in Vampire the Masquerade, I did a really bad roll, and my vampire was he was like he was part of like the artist style clan.
Yeah.
So he appreciated art and all that stuff. But his particular type of favorite art was comic books and movies. I really stretch with my character creation.
Yeah.
So I rolled this really bad roll, and we were at like this convention, and my favorite director was there, who was known for being fat and wearing a backwards baseball cap and trench coat.
And really quiet.
Quiet one. A quiet,
Almost
quiet,
silent.
quiet Robert. And so because of my bad roll, I went crazy. My character went crazy, and I didn't have control of it anymore. And he wound up sexually assaulting Quiet Robert.
Yep. So, Vampire the
It
Masquerade
felt dirty playing that character after that.
it's a great game in which vampire, the reason, hence the name Vampire the Masquerade, is you're vampires, but you're not parading around, oh, we're vampires, we're killing everybody, taking over humanity. No, it's masquerade, as in vampires are trying to remain hidden. They don't want the world to know that we're here. But there's other people that are trying to make it like that, and you're kind of trying to stop that. There's different scenarios. New Orleans was a fun campaign. But I remember your character in Vampire the Masquerade, you have merits and flaws.
Right.
Okay. And in merits, you're allowed to do something, but then you have to take a flaw, which is bad. He took a merit that made his character not afraid of fire. And the reason he did this is so that his character can smoke cigarettes.
So my character can smoke. That's right. Holy crap.
that.
I forgot about that.
I remember that.
That's right. So vampires were naturally afraid of fire.
Exactly.
And I was like, well, I want to smoke, so I gotta. Oh my god, I forgot about that.
I did not.
That is so me.
Uh-huh. That's how far he makes his characters away from who he really is.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I'm gonna say this. I want to put this out here now. I don't know how many times I've said it. I know I've been saying it for over 20 years, and I really don't even know if you know this about me.
Let's hear it. Let's get in with this. What's going on?
The worst thing about playing these games is character creation.
Oh my god, get out of here.
Fucking
get out of here. Get out of here.
I hate character creation. I hate character creation. I hate it. I hate it. Hate it. I hate that game zero where you have to create your character before you get it. I hate it. I do not like doing it. I do not like leaving it up to chance. I just give me a character and I'll play it. I'll play it by the rules. But like, I hate picking and going through the book and creating this character. That is my least. I will play that character and I will have a world of fun with it. I will expound upon my imagination and go to the ends of the universe and do whatever the hell. But sitting down and creating the character per the rules of the books is my least favorite thing to do in role-playing games. Which is why when it's left to me, I'm not all that creative in regards to my personal characters.
So, Game Zero is my favorite game, part of the game. I love storytelling. I love creating backstory for my character, my family. I love creating all of that. And because that, so I'm a huge imagination. I love creativity. and that's what draws me into these games is I can escape the reality of Jeb, who works construction and lives in this world with non-magic, and I can become Malekith, the Dark Warrior of Gustavo or something like that. Like
Sure.
I can be whatever I want.
Right.
And it's that creative process for me, that building the backstory, building relationships, creating all this and that, and then setting a path of how I want my character build out to be allows me to better play that character. So now when I play these characters, I don't play them as, oh, I want my character to do this. I'm one of those characters one of those people, and it seems cliche, I'm one of those people who says, that's what my character would do.
And I get that, and I'm with you.
And you can only do
110%.
that if you actually believe in character development.
If I have the character, I will flesh him out. Like, if I have it, like, okay, all right, I can work with this. This is my story. This is what I have in my gear. Fine, good, I'll go. This is my breed. This is my race. This is my job. Okay, I know how to work within these parameters, and I will. And I'll take that character from 2-dimensional to make him 3-dimensional, and I can do that. It's just creating them. I don't want to. I can. I don't want to.
See, I love it. I love everything about it.
When I found pre-rolled characters for my kids, whenever we started playing D&D, I was like, here you go, girls. These are your characters. This one's for me. Let's go. It's so much easier just to run in and jump into the game.
I just realized that I know we try to keep these sessions like roughly an hour. Sometimes we go over that and everything. Dude, an hour is not enough to really dig into the nitty gritty of tabletop RPGs.
No, we're getting too personal.
Well, I mean, it's not only that, but I have a stack of books over here, another stack of books over here, different games, and a lot of them that I went through right at the beginning that I would love to just talk about, and I would love to get into it with all these different games. And the big reason why is because when people think tabletop RPGs or RPGs, I don't want people to immediately think Dungeons and Dragons. And I wish we could have gotten more into a bunch of the other games that are out there.
Well,
I mean,
hold on.
We're sitting here at 58 minutes already.
Okay. Well,
that time went by quick.
All right, well, let's go behind the curtain here for a second here, bud, and you can cut this out if you want to, or we leave it in.
We're leaving it in.
Let's go long. Let's either go long or stop now and do a part 2 immediately the next week.
No, we can't, because we already have a topic for next week. And
this
is a topic. Oh, you know what? Yeah. Well, okay, yeah. So next week's a Week in Geek, but we have a topic for after that already.
Yeah.
And I really want to get into that. So this is going to be a topic this is the ABCs of NPCs, which to me is basically an introductory into tabletop RPG. I think next time we come back to tabletop RPG, we go way more in depth into some of our favorite different games, because I mean, I can talk for an hour about Mutants and Masterminds.
I can go a little bit with Munchkin.
I think that's technically a board game.
It's a tabletop role-playing game. You can't tell me any different. When I can loot the body.
Yeah, but that's based off of a card system.
Well,
it's a card game, because that becomes more of a card game and less of a. There's no DM for Munchkin. No source books.
All right, brother.
That's a board game, and for what it's worth, I'm ready someday to talk about board games.
Okay, well, then it's up to you. You want to keep going?
I think someday we're gonna have to come back to this. We're not done yet, but we're almost done. We were able to mention we're able to talk about g.u.r.p.s. We've talked about D&D. We've discussed Vampire the Masquerade. The only other one I did want to mention is Pathfinder.
Thank you, because I actually did want to get into Pathfinder, and I've been holding off the question for like, well, an hour now.
Yeah,
What
Pathfinder
is the
by
difference?
Paizo Publishing. Okay, what's it?
What is the difference between generic Dungeons and Dragons or GURPS and Pathfinder?
Okay, so back in early 2000s, like I'm thinking 2008, 2009, something like that. Paizo Publishing, when Dungeons and Dragons went from 3.5 edition to fourth edition, a lot of people weren't happy with that move.
Right. There was a
Fourth
lot of
edition,
convoluted rules came
fourth
with
fourth
fourth.
edition, straight up, literally anybody that's ever told you this, or anybody that's ever been playing for a long time, any forum you go on to or anything else, 4E was a travesty and it was horrible, especially being as how 3.5 was the predecessor. 3.5 we played for so many years, and 3.5 was I have to say the best edition. It's way better than 5E. D&D 5E is too cookie cutter, but I understand what they did. D&D 5th edition is an great introduction game to people that want to play RPGs.
Is that the new edition that's coming out now?
That's the new edition that's already out, is 5th edition. The reason I say that is because it's kind of cookie cutter, as in your characters, there's not much customization. They simplified the game and the rules. There used to be a whole section on feats. They got rid of it. There's only a few feats now. Now you've got advantage and disadvantage. There's no percentages. They simplified all the math and made the game less of a game where you need a calculator and a really big book to play, to a game that people, nowadays can get into it because it's kind of easy to follow.
Well, I think that's wonderful then.
It
I mean,
it's okay. Now, it's wonderful, yes, for new players, but for older experienced players, this is dumbing down of the game.
okay.
So a lot of the players didn't like this and thought it was a bad move. Kind of like the creation of the Earth. Sorry, movie reference. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. The creation of the Earth was considered a bad move. Anyways, so a lot of people didn't like the direction D&D was going. Paizo Publishing in 2008, 2009 decided to make their own game, which was called Pathfinder. And in Pathfinder, it's basically a revised edition of 3.5 from Dungeons and Dragons with very similar rule sets, but they extended the game so that people that played 3.5 can still continue playing 3.5. They have to buy new books now, but it's basically the same rule set continued. So
what do they have to buy if they already have 3.5? Why would they need Pathfinder books? Are you talking about like pre-made games, like pre-made settings and stuff like that?
So you have to have the big ugly. You have to have the big ugly because there's licensing and copyright laws. So Pathfinder, you have to have the core rulebook. You can get this pretty much for free online at Paizo. Because originally, see me, I like to have things in my hands. I like to be able to go through. And this is a very big book, which is why they call it the Big Ugly. So what Paizo did was the game's pretty much free. You can go on there and download so much of Paizo's books and stuff for free because they want you to still continue playing the same game that everybody loved, which was D&D 3.5. But because D&D stopped playing it, all you can do is you can pick up now and you can play the old stuff, which is fun. But you're limited now because they don't make it anymore. So they still make Pathfinder. So now you can continue playing it. Yes, you have to buy their books, their source books. Because of licensing, there's a lot of terminology and stuff that they had to change as far as the wording goes. Because nobody wants to get sued for copyright infringement. So
Sure.
it's basically the same thing, just reskinned for everybody that thoroughly enjoyed the 3.5 edition.
Okay. What are they buying? If it's the same rules they already had with 3.5, why do they need a Pathfinder book?
Some of the things have changed, some of the things have been edited. uh New terminology, new spells, character sheets, character informations, character build out, storytelling. And I mean, it's because 3.5 was a great one, and they took that and expanded on it, so they even made 3.5 even better.
Okay.
So whereas in Dungeons and Dragons 3.5, you may have a fighter class character. The fighter section might be 1 page. Whereas here it might be 3 to 4 pages long because there's so much more that you can do now with each class. So they took it and they expanded on that universe, which is why that you really have to have that book, because there's so much more going on than what used to be in the original 3.5.
Okay. Okay. So it's 3.6.
Kind of, yeah. I just
Nice.
like to say 3.5 extended.
Right. Now, and it's completely open source too, right?
Yeah.
Right. So
Oh
like
yeah.
anybody can come in, and it gives players and GMs an opportunity to really homebrew and make their own rules
Yes.
and
The
make it how they're comfortable, not only telling their story but also for their players as well.
the home brews with 3.5 and with Pathfinder are amazing. In fact, there's whole Reddit subsections just for homebrew classes. Now, some of them are OP, so anytime you ever come up with a homebrew class or something you want to play, always run it by your DM first, because some of them are just broken.
Right.
And I know because I've played a few of them. It was great. He was so bad. Oh, he hated me. But
And by homebrew, we mean that it's you're creating your own rules, or you're taking the rules that are there and changing them. Like they kind of like when you play Monopoly, you kind of have house rules.
mhm.
So like you don't always have to like roll to get out of jail. You just have to wait a couple turns for some people's
Well,
houses and stuff like that.
for
And then
for an example, Pathfinder has a swashbuckler class. It's kind of meh, but it's not really a full-on pirate. Sometimes people think swashbuckler, they think pirate. Well, if you want like a peg-legged, bearded, Captain Blackbeard or something like that, type of a character. They actually have homebrew classes out there specifically for like a sea voyager guy, that you're not gonna find in the regular Pathfinder books. Or
and
it's
people put
it's a
that
more
out there to really just kind of give you some assistance on what they think you may want.
well, and some of them, like I said, there's some subsections on Reddit. And they do this not just for Pathfinder, but they do it for Dungeons and Dragons 5e. They do it for Starfinder, which is basically Dungeons and Dragons in space.
I'm gonna have
They
to
do
try
it.
that.
They do it for GURPS. They do it for Vampire the Masquerade, Morkborg. They do it for a lot of games. And what it is these people actually go through and they go through the classes that the game has, and then they start expanding on different classes that they don't have, like a genie class or some sort of space wizard or like aquatic people. They create races and different classes that they have their own individual rule set and stats that are made specifically for these different games.
And that's
And
giving
it's
you
really
limitations to play
cool.
within.
Exactly. And yeah, well, yeah, you have to play, within that character design. But it allows you to think outside the box.
Right.
Like I don't want to play one of the generic classes You know, if you find one of them, a homebrew class on a different, you know, somewhere on the internet, then it's pretty cool. And that's the thing about tabletop RPGs is you have the ability to do that. You know, like when you're playing strategy games, you don't have that ability.
No.
You have the models that are provided or the models that are within your army, and that's it.
Right.
You can't, there's no thinking outside the box. The you're limited to your imagination when it comes to tabletop RPGs.
Right.
You know, unless you get a real Nazi DM. In that case, find a new DM.
Yeah. Enjoy your Hobbit.
Hey man, I'm not gonna lie.
Halfling.
A DM a DM could make and break a game. He really can. I have been fortunate enough. Some of my friends, Anderson, Alex, my buddy Sammy, my buddy Matt and Schmatt. Not going into the names there, but I've had a lot. I've been fortunate enough that I have had a lot of really awesome DMs, and those DMs have made my experience in the TPT RPG world so great. And that's why I want to continue playing this stuff.
Right.
You know, because they've actually done their work and they were great DMs. But a
That's just
couple of yeah, good.
that goes to their creativity and their storytelling abilities.
Correct. It also has to do with like their interactions with people in the game, their interactions with new players as well as old players, how they handle disputes in games, because sometimes there's in-party conflict. It happens, man. But you know what? It's not the end of the world.
No.
But we've had some conflicts in some games, but that was more the people playing the game and not the DM.
Right.
You know, you got to have a good party. And I will say this, if you're playing a game and you have some people that are just constantly in conflict, you know, sometimes it's worth it to tell one of them to leave the table.
Yeah.
And not come back.
Yeah.
I've been there, and it was uncomfortable to watch one time. That's a personal story I'll have to tell you later about.
Can't wait to hear it.
Oh gosh.
But okay. So we've given you an hour-long preview of what is a huge world and universe of tabletop role-playing games. It's more than just D&D. And I can't wait to hear more about the different games that I have not got to play yet. And I'm super interested. What was the space one you just said?
Starfinder.
Starfinder. I definitely want to know more about Starfinder because
Starfinder and Mothership. Those are two that are awesome. One's fantasy, one's realistic.
Okay. I am a Star Trek junkie. I'm also a Star Wars junkie. So whichever one of those can satiate that would be great.
You'd be interested in Mothership.
Yeah,
I think so. Yeah.
right on, dude. Well, you know what? We might want to do a third part in this and see if we can get maybe one more participant on the show, and we do a small role play.
I mean, I could reach out to one of my DM friends. Oh, we can get our own little session going on here, I'm sure. I've been telling my group for years that we need to record because just like Matt Mercer, we'd probably be famous by now. I mean, they would be obviously way more famous because they're actually famous people and voice actors, and they have a lot of money, and we don't, and we work for a living. So, but
yeah,
we're pretty funny.
Well, I would love to hear it. I do. And by Matt Mercer, you're talking about
the Critical Role.
Critical Role.
Yeah.
Again, people may not know what Critical Role is. Critical Role is a show that's available on YouTube of a group of voice actors and actors in Hollywood that actually play a version of Dungeons and Dragons or a version of Pathfinder.
Vox Machina.
Yeah, that was their first story, and then they got turned into an animated series on Prime.
Yeah.
So
and it's literally videos of them sitting around a table playing D&D.
Right.
That's all it is.
Yeah. And that's all that we would do. And then we take a lot more smoke breaks.
Oh yeah, definitely
Yeah.
need those. I'm ready for one.
Bro,
That's part of the reason
me
for the limited
too.
time right now.
Well,
that's
with
part of the
that,
reason
this
for
is
the
gonna
limited
be
time.
this is the end of the first chapter of TTRPGs with OZ ATFTG. Yeah.
Okay, I'm like, what the fuck are you spelling?
So stick with us. We'll be RB in 7 days.
Ralphamo?
Anyway.
Do 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 do.
Oh,
Ralphamo. Do 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 do.
OTATFTG
Ralphamo.
on
Do
all of our
do do
social
do
medias.
do do
OZ
do
the
do
Freak
do
Talk
do
Geek.
do do.
Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for
Ralphamo.
listening. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And thank you so much for watching. I'm OZ,
And I'm the freak.
and we've been talking geek.
I wasn't gonna say it because I don't know what the hell you're saying anymore. That's a wrap.